Hello, and welcome back to OT the podcast. We're here to talk about Watcher's time and how to spend it. I'm Felix Schultz.
I'm Andy Green, and I'm showing my age with that short-term memory loss. Something I say at least once a week.
And for years at this point, 4 or 5 years. It's too late on a Friday afternoon, but here we are recording yet another throwback interview from Geneva, Watches and Wonders.
Yes.
Of course, thanks to IWC, had the chance to chat to Chris Granger, the CEO, last week. This week, Felix.
Yes.
Another guest from IWC.
Convenient.
Lorenz Brunner, who is the Department Manager of Research and Innovation, aka the Materials Guy at IWC.
He knows his ceramics from his ceremoids.
And titaniums from his tantalums.
Nice.
Really interesting guy to talk to. I think we've definitely interviewed him before.
Yes, we have.
had him?
I don't know if this is official. I think we were one of the first people to speak to him in his capacity as spokesperson.
It's quite
for
possible
IWC.
we made his career.
I think so. I thought they said let's try this guy in front of the camera. He performed so well. He's now a part of the permanent roster.
He had what it takes. Now, the beauty of video, if you're watching on YouTube, is that we can link up a card to that episode and you just click it and go. I know, there's a whole bunch of functionality that we're discovering on YouTube, which is a good reminder. Make sure you're subscribed, following, commenting. Join our Discord as well. We've had a great time in our Discord lately.
We'll get to Discord in a second, but there's something you're forgetting. These convenient acts of synergy don't happen out of nowhere. This week's sponsor is, unsurprisingly, IWC.
Amazing sponsor. They've been a long time supporter of OT. So support them. Go check out your local boutique or IWC.com, IWCwatches.com.
That's right, Andy. And if you're checking out a boutique, maybe buy a watch, maybe precious metal, perhaps with a tourbillon. And if you do all those things, say, I heard about you guys on the OT podcast. I am buying this watch directly because of that.
Yeah, if you let us know, we can send you the script to read out. No.
It's like old school affiliate links.
Just go in. No. We really appreciate their support. They were great on the ground. We have another interview lined up. We also have my manufacturer experience, which I've not really gone too deep into, but we will save that for a future episode, and photojournalism experience. But I went to the IWC manufacturer before Watches and Wonders.
Did you get to do any hands-on watchy, did you try some perlage or anything?
Don't you remember that video of of me doing some perlage and messing around?
Wow.
Also photographing all the white Birkenstocks that I'm sure you tried to steal last time you were there.
Nothing wrong with, look at this. Here we have official IWC 2024 merch, white Birkenstocks.
Is that actually?
No, it would be great if it was, though.
I believe it because they were all wearing them. Yeah. You had me. You got me.
Little IWC on the side. Hey, speaking of IWC merchandise, something else that's happening big in the IWC world this week is they have officially announced they've teamed up with F1 for a upcoming Formula One film with Lewis Hamilton before he's...
Here we were
still
wondering about the future of Lewis Hamilton and IWC.
Yeah, he's a technical advisor and one of the producers of this upcoming film, which has sort of been... It's really interesting, actually. It's not a lot of it is known about it, but Brad Pitt has been is been involved in it, and they're actually filming at all the F1s, or a lot of the F1s around the world. So they're using it to get footage, and they've got a big deal with all the organisation, and it looks... I reckon it's going to be one of the all-time racing movies when it finally comes out.
A lot of buzz. I know they just had a event in London as well, which looked pretty hectic, and Lewis was there, which looked pretty cool.
I think it's sort of sponsored around a fictional team, of which IWC is one of the very real sponsors of this team. So you'll see lots of IWC on the fireproof suits and all that sort of jazz, which is...
I'm hoping it's like the Ted Lasso of F1.
I don't know, or is it like is it going to be more cut? I think Brad Pitt's playing like a retiring driver, come back for one last race, that sort of, I don't know, who knows?
Okay. All right.
Our insights didn't get that far, and clearly Chris Granger didn't, spill the script with you.
Well, a great place to discuss movies and cinema is, of course, our Discord, which you can join via clicking the link. It's a great community of watch lovers, pilots, aviation enthusiasts. You should join.
There's also normal people in there too.
Well, you say that, but then a lot of the chat this week was around iPods and everyone getting nostalgia over missing iPod shuffles.
Yeah, iPods, we've now moved on to expensively restoring old 2000s era Macs into functional computers for 2024, which seems like an expensive hobby that no one needs.
I feel like...
Yeah, you go.
I feel like our Discord is discording. Like, I feel like we've really got a rhythm to it. And
there's a Venn diagram. But I've also discovered something that just quietly I'm low-key obsessed with, Andy. It's the iPod for 2024. It's called the INI Oasis Y1. For a massive, like, $60 American, you can get, like, essentially an iPod Classic. It's Android clone. It can do it all. I don't see how you could possibly go wrong.
Well, we were all complaining about, you know, the costs of streaming and how they just seem to go up on the subscription model. And like I said, am I better off allocating $400 a year to buy singles and music off, say, Apple, and then just loading them on something? Because, to be honest, I listen to the same Creed album over and over again, and that's really it.
Yeah. And for me, I've been thinking about it like, because, you know, I don't know, a formative part of, I'm going to say both our upbringings is like you buy an album and you listen to it to death, and then you sort of have it, maybe make a playlist, and you listen to whatever you've got in your album. I don't think that's going to be the same for like Spotify people growing up. But maybe I want my kid to have some of that, but I also don't want him, you know, on a smartphone at age 10, you know, doing whatever he wants, listening to whatever he wants. So I reckon that like this is a potentially a good middle ground of like forcing nostalgia onto my child that doesn't want it.
You didn't know if the music was good until you bought the whole album, because you'd really only hear one or two singles on the radio if you were lucky, if they got radio time, and then you had to buy the album to learn that the other 10 songs were not that good.
What was the first CD you bought or you wanted to get, like that you got?
Oh, it was probably Green Day. Dookie, yeah.
Okay.
Purely the artwork. And actually, I don't know if I told you, but I went through my old CD collection at my parents' house.
You still got it?
They still got it, yeah.
Nice.
And it's hundreds and hundreds of CDs. A lot of Kiss,
a
lot of ACD.
Yep.
The big standout was, you know, like the classic hot hits and all that sort of So Fresh, whatever.
Ministry of Sound, did you ever go down that path? Or?
No, I've never been a big dance guy. Chingy, right there, the single.
Okay. This is, again, we're showing our age differences. I think one of the first CDs I got, I don't know if I bought it or was given it, was the old Presidents of the United States of America, Millions of Peaches.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like a novelty album. Still kind of slaps.
I joke about Creed, but I'm doing Creed and even like a bit of Three Doors Down. Like we're at that age. But I want to say I told you to do this, so this is a good segue into my recommendation for this week.
What is it?
The Nickelback documentary on Netflix.
Okay.
It's over a couple of years, it seems, over sort of the end of the pandemic. And I was really, when I put it on, I was hoping that it covers their sort of comeback on TikTok, because you know, I used to, you know, work at a music retailer. And they were just everyone hates Nickelback. We all know everyone was hating on Nickelback. And there was no good reason to, other than it was almost like it's cool to hate them because they're too commercial. So if you like rock music.
Sure. I mean, you know what? You say that. I think Kiss probably had a similar thing for a previous generation.
Yeah, it was the parents that hated Kiss. Devil. But it was just for no good reason. They were just too successful. And so if you were a diehard rock fan, then they weren't doing real rock music and it was too formulaic. Anyway.
Yeah.
The last couple of years, welcome TikTok.
Yeah.
Welcome people having this whole new appreciation for Nickelback.
Sure.
They've exploded. And so this covers sort of their early years, and they have a good story. Like, they're Canadians, so automatically you kind of have to like them out the gates.
Yeah.
But it covers their early years and sort of the hustle that they put in.
Sure.
And then the sort of unprecedented hate. And no band's been hated as much as they have. But then it does end with the bit, no, come on. It does end with like a really nice comeback story. And it's sort of amazing because they just kept doing what they do the whole time through. And like they're like the 4th best-selling act of all time.
Is Nickelback the ones that looks like the Paddle Pop Lion?
Yeah. Yeah, Chad Kroger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chad Kroger. Yeah. So he's pretty talented. He's a pretty talented guy, but it's I'm going to say it's an inspirational story.
Okay.
Yeah, and they've got good roots. So it was nice to watch. It restored a little bit of faith in humanity for me.
You've just put the millennial nail in the coffin on this, this podcast. There's going to be people throwing their generic Chinese iPod knockoffs at the wall going, what? OT likes Nickelback?
Do you want to chuck in a bit of Silver Side Up on there?
I don't know what that is.
That was one of their albums.
Okay.
I reckon, I reckon you should dig out some Nickelback.
Sure. Okay. My son will love it. He will unironically go nuts for it. We missed a really great segue before about iPod shuffles. There's another sort of shuffle that's been happening.
What's that?
The Richmond shuffle.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Here we go.
Sorry.
What's happened?
Well, I don't know what's happened. So a little while ago, we broke the news that Van Cleef & Arpels CEO Nicolas Beau has become like group CEO of like all of the brands, which is a big promotion. So obviously left a vacancy. Sorry, I'm just distracted by you drinking mysterious red liquor
out of a beaker. Yeah.
beaker.
It's the Richmond secret potion.
Wow. Okay. So that's the secret to corporate success. So vacancy at VCNA has been filled by Catherine Renner, who was formerly of GG LeCoultre. But that's not it. Not just one shuffle. Louis Furler, CEO of Vacheron Constantin, who's had solid success in the last few years, he's moved over to Cartier, replacing Cyril Vigneron, who has gone somewhere else.
Cyril, do we know? So we don't know the Cyril move.
I read an article in passing where it sort of said Cyril is involved at a senior level. I don't know what that means. Like, if anyone here listening is in, I don't know, mid to high level Richemont corporate structures, explain it all to me like I'm a child.
So my understanding is you get promoted up through the brands.
Sure.
And if you hit that CEO level, like obviously by like region and then by like then to the actual brand itself. But then it goes two ways. Like if you stay internal within a group, you either go to a better brand, but no offense to the brand that you left.
More commercially successful, let's say.
Cooler brand. That way, or like bigger, or you kind of leave that role and go into like a head office role.
Okay.
So you leave the brand and you enter the group in a group setting. So
which is what Nicolas Beau, he's defeated the final boss of brand level, and now he's gone up to the next level at group.
The upper echelon.
Yep.
Yep. And then that's where the playmakers sit. That's the big leagues.
Look, corporate shenanigans is not my strong suit, but I'm interested in what this will mean for product. And because I don't know how much is CEO as well, because Cartier under Cyril Vigneron, for example, had a really good, strong run, and like it clarified what they were doing. Like they cut SKUs, they sort of focused down on things. And I wonder if that's going to change, or if how much leeway the CEOs have in sort of creative vision versus preserving the brand integrity. Well, and I know you've spoken to more Swiss CEOs recently.
Yeah, I'm plenty. But I know Cyril would sign off on every watch design.
Sure.
So, like in every prototype, everything. It was like the signature was on the original sort of...
Yeah, the little bit of paper.
Right? Yep. And that's like a big thing. So is that going to continue?
But again, how many did he not sign off? And if, all the department heads said, this is a go...
Yeah.
It's a formality. Filtered? Like, whereas he goes, oh, no, I need there to be a pink dial on there. Bring it back with more pink.
I mean, maybe. They're not the biggest.
Time will tell.
It's not a massive, like it's a big business, but it's not the biggest business when it comes to, design and prototype. Like I think it's pretty tight.
Yeah. Anyway. I don't know. Interesting to see what shakes out. I mean, that's the other thing as well. Production timelines, they'll well be underway for the next few years, but who sees what we'll see.
Cue the Succession soundtrack. Just for enough time.
Lorenz Brunner, I think.
Yeah. This was a cool chat. Really good on his feet. really good on his toes. Although we sat down this time,
Been on his feet too much?
I've moved past the reception of the IWC stand into the back VIP area, where we made a makeshift podcast studio. So let's cut to it. Lorenz Brunner, Department Manager, Research and Innovation at IWC, Schaffhausen.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Andy. Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure. I want to kick things off by asking you the top 3, in your opinion, innovations from IWC.
Top 3. I would say, for sure, Peloton winding system. I would say invented 70 years ago, roughly. It's a very efficient winding system, a system that we still use today. So it has really passed the test of time. Then, perpetual calendar. Claude Klaus is really a special perpetual calendar, all synchronized, operated only by the crown, so no separate pushes. And the third one is maybe the tough one. I would say we can go in the corner of material science, titanium, ceramics. If I can choose maybe a little bit a section.
Well, that's a good answer, because I want to ask you how IWC invests in innovation now. Obviously, I did a manufacturer tour at the start of the week, but I want to hear from yourself how you invest in innovation these days.
Yeah, I mean, we have, of course, due to our history, we have some kind of pillars where we are strong. One being material science that you just mentioned. So everything that is related to ceramics, titanium, and hard materials is one of the pillars. Then we are really strong in calendar innovation, where we actually show a new product with the Eternal Calendar Portugieser this year. This is also a product that comes off my innovation group. And chronograph innovations, I mean, we are also very strong in chronographs. So this is kind of a third pillar, I would say, of the important things we do.
So that's the big stuff that people think of, you know, materials, movements, complications. Mm-hmm. What about like the day-to-day little changes and tweaks that happen that you're really proud of and you know are kind of obvious because you spent but aren't immediately obvious? Maybe the public just doesn't notice them amongst everything else, or maybe they get lost in in press releases and that sort of thing. There's got to be that stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a point you mentioned that is really important to us. It's what we call silent innovation.
Yep.
It's stuff that we do not do marketing about, that is really silent. And we have, I mean, in my department, we have many projects on this kind of innovations. I can give a few examples. We care about lubrication, or let's say durability of the watch in general, water tightness, crevice corrosion problems in general, also chronometry, of course. We do a lot of things with for example, silicon components that we use in the escapement, and this is all really silent stuff, but it's quite a big part of my daily business, actually. True.
How do you tackle like the limitations of innovation? Because I think IWC, a really innovative brand. And, again, going back to the manufacturer visit, it's very impressive. The whole thing is the production process, the machinery, like the investment there it's genuinely impressive. Mm-hmm. So in your role, like, how do you deal with, like, are there limitations, or how do you kind of navigate the limitations of, like, is something too crazy an idea, and how do you get to that point?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, for me, as a let's say trained material scientist, working in medical device industry before, to be honest, watch industry is like a paradise. I mean, limitations are farther away than in the medical device industry. Mm-hmm. There you have constraints. You need to have you need to be able to implant it in your body. It needs to fulfill a lot of certifications. In the watchmaking industry, I would say the boundaries are really much wider. Of course, there are some limitations. For example, I was a while ago, some years ago, I was trying to use a material that was really we were not able to process it. It's so tough. It's so hard. We tried to machine a case out of it, but no one was able to do it. So it's kind of a technical limitations.
Okay.
Of course, we have kind of a review process also internally with the top management, where we rate or we judge our innovation projects, and there, of course, we set also limitations to ourselves. Is it a good brand fit, for example? what is the effort and so on. And obviously there are also financial limitations, which are, to be honest, and luckily very rare.
Yeah. So that's a good answer. And so you mentioned the material side of things, and testing out that new material. I'm not going to ask you what it was. Maybe offline you can tell me what you tried to machine. But where do you find that inspiration? Because like anyone doing a job for a long period of time, things can get a bit stale, and you can kind of there is a process to being creative and to finding inspiration and innovation. So looking at materials, do you find that you're looking in quite random and maybe not the most obvious places for inspiration on sort of what to do next, what to explore next?
I think it's really just very important that you stay curious and you leave your eyes open. And then we have different sources. I mean, some of them really come from internal colleagues, or it can be my own idea. Then of course we have very innovative suppliers as well. Sometimes they have ideas and say, hey, look, IWC, we have something like that, we can try it out. And of course, now I work 12 years for IWC, and I have very good connections to universities, technical universities, and other entities that are very innovative, and they realized how we work. And if they develop something new, they very often come to me and say, hey, Lawrence, you did this nice project before. I'm sure you must be interested in this project B as well. So
you could use this in a watch, you could use this in a dial.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, we look at other industries as well, like aerospace, like the ceramic matrix composite, for example, that we introduced last year as a material. It comes from the German Air and Space Agency, which was a very interesting collaboration as well.
Amazing. So the other thing on that, there is a constant pressure to find, and to be cutting edge, and it's a defining feature of IWC is this innovation, and a lot of brands, tout the word. And I mean, it's probably a two-part question around the pressure to kind of feeling the need to always be innovative, and when maybe you don't need to be, and the risk of being innovative for the sake of it, rather than for the right reasons. So how do you toe that line?
Yeah, it's a good question, and actually I was asking this question to myself 12 years ago when I joined IWC. I thought, I joined innovation, which by the way was created at that time, this group, and I thought, in 5 years' time, I'm jobless because I did everything that is around.
I can do,
and actually the opposite happened. So today, I mean, when I started, we had 5 to 10 projects. Today I have a portfolio of between 30 and 35 projects at the same time, and I think the more you do, for example, as I mentioned, with suppliers, with partners, the more you do, the more you realize is around. So it's actually the opposite. And for me, this was really a surprise, because I thought, everter some time, every material is tried out. Everything has been tested, but it's really, the world is so big.
All right, that's a good answer. So I want to ask about how you work with the watch designers in a practical sense. So I know that design is often limited by things like shock resistance and anti-magnetic cases, and that means that things might have to be bigger or a different shape. Is that how collaborative is your role, and how involved are you in sort of influencing the design through what you're able to do on the innovation front?
Yeah, it's really also a very good question, and we needed to find always a good, as a Swiss we are used to it, but we need to find a good compromise. So for some materials, like the very brittle ones, we cannot use the exact same case construction as for a metal case, for example. So there we need a compromise. Also, for example, if I can take the same example of the ceramic matrix composite, we just, in brackets, had to chamfer a little bit more, which is maybe not visible, but to really reduce the risk of fracture, we have to, let's say, fine-tune the geometry a little bit. And sometimes working with the design team is even the opposite. So they have an idea and say, now, Lawrence, I make an example. Can you make this component transparent so we can see the movement? And then I have to find the compromise. I have to think, this is really a tricky one, because it's so thin. transparent. We do not have a lot of choice. I mean, leaving away all the plastics. And then, it's always a little bit, I would say, an iteration process. So we approach each other and try to find the best compromise. That's, I would say, on a daily basis, what we do.
Because otherwise it could just be an endless task of discovery and
that's true.
It could be quite tricky.
The good thing, maybe if I can say it, the good thing I think for working for IWC, we have different watch families, and not all of them have the same construction. So we can adapt a little bit. If for example, material A doesn't work for a Portuguese, maybe it works very well for an engineer. So it's that there we can play also a little bit with different watch families.
What's the best thing about your job?
Sorry, what?
What's the best thing or part of your job?
The best thing. I think what I really love is to do new things, try things out, really, and also, I mean, to be honest, also to fail. I mean, out of these 30, 35 projects that I mentioned, not all of them we will see in a watch one day. Maybe a third out of it, or maybe half of it. But it's cool. I think that a company allows having such a department that they allow to fail. And this is what I like, because it gives me so much freedom. You can basically try everything, and this makes the work so different every day. It's not like an everyday business you do every day the same, but well,
it's not failing, it's learning.
Yes, absolutely, and I love it. I'm still a very curious materials engineer and also innovation person, and every day I learned something, and we have surprises, and that's what I love. That's
fantastic.
What I really love.
Well, last question.
Yeah.
What's your pick of the 2024 releases?
Well, a simple answer: the Eternal Calendar, of course, is my top choice, because there are two separate projects that come from my group that were introduced in that watch. It's the secular calendar part and the very accurate moon phase that actually when they were in my department were two separate projects. So we had a secular calendar project and a very accurate moon phase project, and they merged together in one single watch, which I think is a very clever decision finally, because they fit very well together.
So there were two independent sort of complications being worked on, and there was the decision to merge them.
Yes.
Was that before the Eternal Calendar idea was created?
Yes, that was already the case in the concept phase. I mean, in my department, we go, or let's say that the limit is like, let's say, having a first concept, and I mean a physical concept, so a movement that works, and that we had already both complications together. Yes.
Right, and then it was this makes sense together, develop a watch. And so, can I ask how long that process is from the start of those separate movements to today when we see the watch being released?
I mean, for this one, for the Eternal Calendar, it was roughly, I would say, between 4 and 4.5 years, which is not so long, I would say. But I had a project. I can again take the ceramic matrix composite as an example, which was really tough one. It took me almost 10 years to from the very first email to the launch of the watch. So I would say for very fast project, it can be 3 years maybe.
So you really have to be patient. You have to be patient, and you have to be, committed to the cause and to the business.
Patience is something you need to have. Yes, but it's no problem for me, because during all those years, it's not that you don't do nothing. It's all you see. It's a little bit like growing a child. You see it growing. You see it pronouncing differently, so that's nice, and it gets born, and then it grows, and I really love this process to see how a project is working out, and then at some point getting interaction with my colleagues from product management and see their opinion, also from Creative Center that we already mentioned, to hear what they think about something. So this process is really something I love also to do.
It's all part of it. There must be so many of them, just back on the back burner and happening at different phases. And I mean, it's a testament as well to yourself, because to be so happy where you are and to be so committed to your job.
Absolutely.
Is,
and maybe if I can add
please.
One point, I'm also very happy working for IWC because I still, after 12 years, I love our products. It's really, I'm also kind of a small collector. I have, meanwhile, 10 or 12 watches, and I love our products. And I think this helps also to really identify yourself with a company, with the technology, with the projects you do. And
amazing.
That's a real pleasure for me.
Well, we can send that last clip to Chris later and make sure you get a pay rise this year.
Hopefully, maybe he can raise my salary a little bit.
Yeah, well, make that 13 watches.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andy, for your visit and for your interest. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Andy, lovely chat with Lorenz. He seems like a cool guy. I don't know. I like there's always a few people at these brands that are just like, they've got it going on.
Really appreciative of the opportunity to sort of talk to him. The innovation, I mean, we keep seeing it from IWC throughout the year. So the best thing you can do is just head to their website and follow them on social media. Supporting our sponsors helps us. Yep. And of course, Felix, if you like OT, if you want us to keep traveling the world, finding new and interesting watch content, then make sure you're telling your friends. Leave us a 5-star review if you haven't.
You know what? If you're friends with Mr. Beast...
Is that too much to ask?
Maybe just give him a little personal, like, hey, Mr. Beast, these guys are great. And even if he doesn't like and subscribe, maybe he'll give us cars.
Maybe just like chuck up a story or something. I don't know. Feastables, OT, Feastable, like there's natural collaborations and synergies there. But just spread the word. And join our Discord, send us nice messages, and we could be back next week with Marcus Buehler.
I don't have a funny joke about that. I'm sorry. He seems like a really smart dude.
He's a smart guy. Anyway, see you guys next week.